easier to see the glee side of life when you are not running from anything. The music is good and air fresh. However, when all you think and fret about are the mad masked faces of your armed persecutors, the only thing that engages your mind is the readiness of flight, especially when you can't fight back. Drums become noise, percussions become nuisance, in exchange of gunshots and bombs becoming the normal ambience. Bloodshed, the regular order of the day.
We were in the church and they came. We ran helter-skelter and found ourselves walking and running in the bush, lying down here and there until we got to a place where we felt it was safe.
This is the plight of many Christians of northeastern Nigeria who majorly attend the Church of the Brethren in Nigeria, better known as Ecclesiar Yan'Uwa a Nigeria, EYN, amongst the locals. The most hit areas are southern Borno and northern Adamawa states, which are predominantly occupied by native Christians. Many have fled to neighboring states and communities, while some have fled to as far as Abuja, the federal capital of Nigeria, and Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. Left with little or no assistance, these displaced persons have found shelter in government-provided camps. Few non-governmental organizations have camped some of them. Also, there are IDPs that are forced to turn abandoned buildings into camps of their own. This is the story of BEST and its efforts in helping victims of Boko Haram. From 2009 to date, thousands of Christians in northern Nigeria have lost their lives, properties, and many churches have been burnt. And even more, beyond the million, are displaced with no food, no shelter, and no income, all because of the Boko Haram insurgency in northeastern Nigeria. Nigeria has about 3.3 million persons displaced. This figure is given by the Global Overview Report of 2014, recently released by the Internal Displaced Monitoring Center, IDMC, and the Norwegian Refugee Council. According to the report, of the 3.3 million IDPs in Nigeria, 470,500 individuals were displaced in 2013 alone. Globally, Nigeria is ranked the third nation with the highest number of IDPs, following Syria with 6.5 million and Colombia with 5.7 million. The rise in IDPs in Nigeria is associated majorly to increased number of Boko Haram attacks, especially after the insurgents were pushed out of the northeast's major towns of Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe states in May 2013. 60 to 70% are from these states, of which a sizable number are brethren. Father Gideon Obazoge, the Director of Catholic Social Communications of the Maiduguri Diocese in Borno State, says that Boko Haram insurgents have torched about 1,000 churches in the past 4 years. Nigeria's Vanguard newspaper says that 13,000 people have been killed since 2009 as a result of the insurgency.
In my own report, we gathered 15,200 people who were killed, apart from the last 2 weeks that were killed. So I think some of the numbers you cannot quantify.
EYN, with about 300 churches burnt or destroyed, has more churches in the affected areas than any other denomination. Thus, the Church of the Brethren in Nigeria is the most affected. This saw to the need for BEST to intervene.
It's very sad that this problem in the Northeast, the Church of the Brethren is the most hit. Some times ago, BES had to put together some money and delegated some of its members, particularly the Executive Director, Dr. Mrs. Esther Manja, went to Yola, bought food items, took to their camps and shared to them. Apart from that, we give them encouragement. So both spiritually and in terms of physical materials, BES has participated.
EYN's motto is that of radical evangelism. While since its establishment in Nigeria over 75 years ago, the Church of the Brethren has made reasonable achievement in holistic evangelism, the need to stay true to this motto exists. In staying true, the Church would have to utilize the abundant resources at its disposal for greater development. Therefore, BEST was established by sons and daughters of EYN who felt, being privileged, they can partner with the Church in various ways, especially in the secular world, to support the Church. In 2002, 5 sons of EYN conceived the Operation Go Home idea. Like the early missionaries, Captain Paul Maman Fahal, Mr. Anjikwi Musa Chiwar, Engineer Marcus Gundiri, Reverend Moses J. Thliza, and Engineer Ayuba Gwani gathered to find ways of helping the Church.
A group of Church of the Brethren and EYN members felt that there is need to have an organization which we eventually named it BEST. And the aim has been basically to see what we can do similar to what the missionaries from the United States have done for us.
In 2004, Brethren Evangelism Support Trust, BEST, was registered with the Corporate Affairs of Nigeria to legally operate as a faith-based organization. The 5 brothers then invited some brethren to join them. Many more willingly joined them. BEST currently has a membership of 98 men and women committed to serve God in all ramifications. BEST believes that those who are opportuned should go back home to set the captives free, release the bound and heal the sick, feed the hungry, release or free the deprived and marginalized, and to save their souls from eternal destruction. To give them hope that we can make both heaven and earth if we obey God as covenant children.
All I can tell the brethren out there is that we need God. And any life that is not associated or does not love the Word of God has no future. These people need total reorientation. And what I mean here, we're talking about their minds, their emotions, and their will.
As beneficiaries of missionaries coming, BEST decided to contribute for the growth of the Church. The brethren believe that now that the missionaries are gone, they must be responsible to see to the salvation of their people by partnering with the Church in their own way. They therefore strive to support and promote the Church through community-based applied field studies, training, direct service provision in the areas of evangelism, healthcare delivery, education, water supply and rural development, and networking with national and international agencies that identify with their aims and objectives.
BES is working with the church at large. We complemented the effort of the church at 3 levels. 1, advisory level, 2, resources, and 3, involvement. Helping the church does not necessarily mean calling and taking your ministry and taking over the responsibilities of the pastors, but complementing their effort at particular areas.
Like the story of the 10 lepers who were healed by Jesus, where only one came back to thank the Lord for healing him, Best realizes that there is a reward in serving the Lord in one's own way, saying thank you to God. Saying thank you comes in various forms. For this trust, its ways are spelt out in its objectives. 1. Promote expanded sustainable evangelism. 2. Support healthcare delivery, education and food production. 3. Promote rural development and water supply. 4. Subscribe to and promote the aims and objectives of any society or association having objectives similar to all or any of BEST. 5. Collect and disseminate statistical data and other information affecting church interests. 6. Support any developmental programs of the church in accordance with the objectives of the organization. 7. Networking with other NGOs, national, international, and government agencies that share the same objectives with BEST. Amazing as it would sound, all projects undertaken so far have been funded by members with few donations from outside. BEST's main sources of income are members' dues, free donations, and some other fundraising activities. BEST has also established an investment arm called BEST Investment, with the intention that dividends from the investment will contribute in funding its projects. Already, this arm has established a water project in Maiduguri. Productions have, however, been stalled because of the Boko Haram menace. BEST has also embarked on some international visits. Reasons for the fraternal visits include to maintain relationships with the brethren who brought the gospel to Nigeria, to share ideas and learn from each other's evangelism experiences, to return thanks to the early missionaries and Church of the Brethren for their efforts in seed sowing, to get partnership for the ministry, to contact professional partners to help develop members' businesses.
BEST is made up of all kinds of people from different backgrounds, so we bring our own different ideas and different callings together to enable us help the church. We have helped the church financially also, especially with the crisis. We have bought some food materials and some clothing, took it to Yola to help the IDPs.
All these achievements have been made possible by the great management team that will tell you they totally depend on God's grace to perform their duties. The team comprises of the Board of Trustees, chaired by Captain Paul Maman Fahal, the Management Board of which Honorable Titsi Ganama Kwaga is its chairman, and the Management Committee that has Dr. Mrs. Esther Mangza as its administrator. And God has indeed been gracious to them. Thus, there is no doubt that there is no stopping BEST till they conquer the world for Jesus.
BEST will do much more in the future because some areas, especially the churches, have to be rebuilt again.
In line with its vision to help the church, the Trust has also made cash donations to EYN Church Maiduguri victims of the Boko Haram religious crisis of 2009 and still visits IDP camps to preach and assist with relief materials.
Abuja an garan ger yamulmu na asnifin da yaji da mai ger yamulmu ga sifu mshiga sefifu akar ya sesiku ijim tak jaranan da barka.
Only the people that sympathize us to give us food to eat now in this Abuja.
While some people gave up their homes, others gave up their hopes. With little skill, they are barely able to do much. They languish in their suffering. So many IDPs are tired of living outside their normal residences and yearn for their homes far away. Though BEST has not been able to give the IDPs shelter as comfortable as their own homes, the Trust has been a home away from home for most of them.
Our land is sick. We pray that God will take control. We pray that government will have a place in their hearts to help these displaced people.
It is clear that most people remain displaced and some have faced perhaps the most horrific times of their lives. the church still has a role to play in cushioning this negative effect on the victims, especially given the trauma they have been through. Best is not relenting in its efforts and still has plans to do even more.
We are of age now, and we must take that challenge.
The Chibok girls, captured by Boko Haram and other IDPs even after being rescued and restored to their homes, would still be left with some voids. The void created in their lives would include stolen time, irreversible emotional, physical and psychological trauma.
Many of our people are still living in the bush. They are in camps where they don't get enough food. So it was so traumatic. Some people, they had some kind of, I'll call it mental fab. You can't think properly.
Some of them would never forget the long treks they had to make, the terrifying nights through the bushes and forests, and the inhuman handling they have had to face from the Islamic extremists.
Thousands and thousands of kids from the northeast, they are not in school. And this worries me because it's like we are set back. By the time they start schooling again, they have to start all over or they have forgotten.
Some would wonder where to pick up their lives after losing out from school, having to return to a land bereft of food, clothing and shelter, and a means of livelihood, as their houses, shops and churches have been razed down in inferno, and their farmlands and food stores mine-infested and destroyed. Where do they start? What do they do without help?
And we are especially interested in helping the less privileged in the Northeast, and especially members of EYN Church, because that is principally what we formed best for.
All we can say is the international community can continue to partner with us in the areas of provision and rehabilitation of our communities and our churches, so that life can come back to normal.
We will not cease to continue to assist. That is my message to all Christian folks, not only EYN, but the entire Christian dom in Nigeria. We should take this as a matter of fact and be our brothers' keepers, especially in these times of need.
And I'd like to thank those who have contributed immensely toward this, and I will ask if we can do more, because this is the beginning.